let's welcome Bit, the president of Liberland.
Guys, it's very exciting to be here. And I can tell you, I was in the early days of BitSpace. I was present. I met Manuel, and I can tell you it's this great job that you have done, that you put all these companies together, people together, and you can see how this whole segment is flourishing, and I'm happy to be part of that. And I'm so happy to hear all this exciting presentation. This is a world-class blockchain event, I can tell you. Liberland has gone also through a long journey since, long journey. It's 2.5 years since we started a new country on Balkans. But let me first backroll a little bit, tell you a little bit more about myself and how did it started. I studied political science, I studied economy. I was also one of the early people that promoted Bitcoin in Czech Republic. I was kind of critical of the governments that are in Europe and globally because they over-regulated a lot of things and overtaxed a lot of things. I was active and I started political party in Czech Republic, let's say something similar to Liberland here in Norway. I was working hard to put the ideas out. I think our YouTube channels and our channels have more than 20 million views now. And I was always thinking how to push the liberty ideas more forward. I was heavily influenced by this author. I'm wondering how many people here know him, Frédéric Bastiat, a great author that wrote amazing book some 250 years ago. And it explained how much basically the state is damaging the economy and happiness of the people. And we know that the damage is enormous. It's just cumulative. The same way the exponential works, the same way the destruction that is brought about by regulation and by taxation is coming in. So for example, let's say United States, if it stopped regulating on the level of 1980s, they would have now another German economy, part of their own economy. And they have just given that up because they over-regulated their own economy. Or European Union itself, it projects that it actually takes away as much as 3.5% a year of economic growth out of Europe because of these 220,000 pages of regulations. And I was thinking, that's actually 3.5% is quite a lot, but they are distracting every 20 years the whole economy of the whole continent. And that's all invisible destruction. That's something that you don't see. That's all the companies that were not created, or the job opportunities that were not created because somebody over-regulated something. So we were thinking for a couple of years what to do with it, and then we said, okay, let's start a new country. It wasn't actually like that. I was so articulate in these ideas that the people from my opposition started to tell me, you should start your own country. I was like, okay. And we were looking on the map where would be the best place to start it. We were looking for no man's land, and people always ask me, how did you find it? It's not easy. You just go to Wikipedia and you look up the no man's land places and you pick one. And this is what we did. We actually Googled a place between Croatia and Serbia, which has incredibly interesting legal status. It was given up by Serbia, and it was never accepted by Croatia. It's basically the last remaining piece of Yugoslavia. And the legal situation has not changed since the inception of Liberland. Yet, of course, there are troubles when you're starting a new country. It's 7 square kilometers of land. It's roughly 3 times size of Monaco. It's, I think, perfect place to show how Liberland model can work. And we started it on 13th of April. That was the birthday of Thomas Jefferson. It was exciting. I wanted to actually postpone the whole trip 2 days. So we hit his birthday. We wanted to invoke the spirit of American Revolution. And the only thing that we had there was this house in the middle of that no man's land. And they were laughing at us, making fun. This is their parliament. This is how shitty, they are taking care of their country. Only 3 days. After we started the country, we had already Croatian national television coming in the territory and making fun of us. So in like 3 more days, we said, okay, this is going to be our parliament actually, and there will be somebody taking care of police, somebody taking care of justice, somebody taking care of diplomacy. So basically the 3 windows. And that's it. We want our government to take care only of the basic things, and we believe that the private markets will do the rest much better than the government would. And we know that it works very well. The places like Liechtenstein, places like Monaco, it's only taking a couple percents out of what people produce. They don't have to take a 50% fair share like other countries, and they're fine, just like Singapore or Hong Kong. And we know that they create enormous wealth and prosperity. And we said, let's do something like that for Balkans. And let's see how much support we get for it. And we're expecting that maybe 20,000 people will apply in 2 years for citizenship, and it will be the hardcore libertarian community. Yet we received 250,000 emails the first week alone. Can you imagine? Luckily, the software that we used was able to, and we were able to process the data. But first of all, we needed to start some form because we were just accepting applications by email, and you can imagine that was simply not possible. And we also decided that we will, since all these technologies are coming in, that we will try to put as much things on mobile platform, and also justice and police can be basically Uberized. And truly, I think you heard this, but this applies to any aspect of our society. It also applies to the state itself, right? If you want to change something, you have to bring a new model, and the rest will basically vanish sooner or later. So what do you need to have a country? You need to have a population, you need to have a defined territory, you need to have a government and capacity to enter into relation with other states. Now we have 400, almost 70,000. That number is a little bit old, I think last week, because it's growing now crazy. I think every half minute now again we have citizen application. We've got some 130,000 people that we deem eligible. Those are people that fill in the application. And we've got almost 70,000 people that want to start business in Liberland. And imagine that actually this is half of the yearly immigration to the United States and how much smaller Liberland is. So there is enormous support for it. And there are people like Joby Weeks, for example, that are operating one of the biggest Bitcoin mines on board. They are developers of Ethereum. And there is always lots of media. So I actually came from Liberland, and I have to fly directly back tomorrow because we've got a Dubai documentary team, Italian newspaper, and another documentary team. So it's going to be crazy. We've got the most traveled people now coming to Liberland for a weekend party. And we've got people, and this was taken recently, also the leaders of Ethereum. I'm happy that they are in touch and they are supportive, and I also hope to get them on board of our future development. Liberland started basically when Bitcoin was lowest after the first big rise, right, from 1,200 to 200, and just about that time in April, Liberland started. And I think the development of Liberland goes in hand in hand with Liberland. And luckily, of course, we were the first country to accept Bitcoin in form of taxation. That, of course, helped Liberland to grow its budget. We were also the early adopters of Ethereum, so that also helped. Basically, we didn't have to rise too much taxes because the budget was growing itself. And we do have a territory. It's very well defined. We actually gave both countries half meter in order to avoid any kind of border dispute. And that is still the same. Again, Croatia has not claimed Liberland since Liberland started. And we also very well know, because Serbia stated it only 11 days after Liberland was founded, that Croatia doesn't claim this territory, and it was not formed on the territory of Serbia. And if you look into any maps of Croatia, you will always find a big white spot. And if you try to go to Liberland from Croatia, you will be arrested for illegal border crossing. So let's say they have elevated something like a new iron curtain people trying to escape Schengen, trying to escape EU into Liberland, yet they get arrested behind the borders of Liberland, which is, of course, a bit unfortunate, but this is what we are dealing with. But we also, Liberland is, of course, it's not just this territory. It's a big idea. It's an idea of people on this planet that want to live in a free environment, and they want to, step by step, make sure that the countries they are living in is something that they can support. And this is a nice island in Caribbean. I'm not going to tell you where it is, but it's one of those places where Liberland could be established, or very close to its original founding areas. But this doesn't mean that Liberland cannot be built there. It's just going to take a little bit longer to get things going. We've got a great government. That's another thing which we definitely need in order to be a country. We've got Bogi Wozniak as a vice president, an established businessman in the US, Thomas Walls as a foreign minister, formerly working for US diplomacy. We've got Jan Purkrabek as our finance minister, somebody who was running hedge fund before in Czech Republic. Alexander Borodich as the chairman of Liberland Economic Council. Now he's launching his blockchain Universa, which is going to compete for those new smart blockchains in near future, I think launching in 14 days. And it's great because some of the services that Liberland is providing are already utilizing blockchain technology. And we also have a Minister of Justice, Zorana Koromaza, but I can tell you that the more we think about justice, the more we go decentralized, the more we are looking for partners that are bringing this technology in reality. So maybe in Liberland, we were considering in the original constitution that there will be judges in the traditional British model. But maybe the time is over for that. Maybe the country is able to adopt a completely decentralized justice system where in the first round, 3 citizens will be selected as a jury. If you disagree with the decision of the jury, 6 citizens will be selected as a jury. 12 citizens will be selected as a jury. And what we really are bringing as an innovative idea is whenever you pay taxes to Liberland, you will be getting our tokens for it. So whenever you pay taxes, you actually become a shareholder of the country that you're living in. And that's a fairly innovative concept. We're not going to force people to pay taxes. We are going to offer them shares of the country that they are living in. And in our justice model, we believe that people could use those tokens as a collateral to the justice system that they are living in, which is also a fairly innovative concept. And I think it's something which is very much needed in the new world where there is no way how to make people accountable if everything that they have is just their private keys. So in order to install a trust in a society, in a completely decentralized, autonomical economy where everybody basically no longer has any bank accounts, which is great, in order to install some sort of justice, if people screw each other because of something, we need to have some sort of a mechanism how to claim some of the power back to the society. And I think this is something which Liberland will excel in, and we might be the first adopters of it. And we also have a great advisory team for our ICO, and you're one of the first people to see that. It's great that not only, for example, Alexander Borodich, but also Michael Arrington, founder of Crunch Fund, is on board, that Brock Pierce, one of the most active people in promoting blockchain technology, Niklas Nikolaisen, the founder of Bitcoin Swiss, Luis Cohen, the co-founder of Aragon, Galia, the business developer of Bancor. You already heard about these names, and I'm more than happy that these people are with us and they are on the advisory team for the development of Liberland services. We've got also our timeline for events, and you can see that most of these things are just happening. We've got a number of things already completed. We've got our land registry, registry of ships, registry of companies already running and beta testing it. We've got a network of number of embassies and so on. But honestly, this is one of those quotes which I really like. I found them after I started Liberland. But you can have a real country unless you have a beer and an airline. It helps if you have some kind of football team or some nuclear weapons, but at the very least, you need to have a beer. And I was more than excited, of course, that right after Liberland was created, we had the first Liberland national beer. And that beer failed. It was a private venture and that didn't work. But we've got another one now. And it's doing great. It's doing great. It's being now, they're planning to brew it not just in Czech Republic, but it's being licensed to United States and Serbia. It's really doing great on markets. It has actually won the second prize in Serbian national competition. So it's exciting to have that. And I have a zero stake in it. It's just one of those Liberland businesses which is flourishing, and I'm more than happy for that. We've got an airline that was put together a couple days after Liberland was put together. I think 14 days after Liberland was created, Liberland already had an airline, and it's basically an association of Liberland plane owners that are helping Liberland to grow. And they all have a website. You can already charter the flights. You can buy also flight tickets to other countries, like a regular booking website, which is great. And I'm going to take Air Liberland actually from Prague tomorrow directly to Liberland. So it's working just fine. I think we got 3 new private jets as part of that group in the last month alone. So it's pretty exciting. And we've got enormously supportive community of architects. I think one of the most prominent one is Patrick Schumacher from Zaha Hadid. He was a great contribution in the early days when he said he will organize architecture competition. And those are some of the things that Zaha Hadid is creating. So that's kind of amazing stuff. Maybe you heard about them. You want to look it up. They did a great project, for example, for Japanese Olympic Stadium, or now they are doing in Saudi Arabia, the airport, amazing stuff. But we also got some great results from that competition. This is an American-based architecture studio. They decided to make more like a golf course out of Liberland to keep more green stuff there. But I was thinking, why not? That's maybe a time for thinking differently with all the new drone technology and flying cars. And it's kind of an exciting time. And now very recently, last week, the Liberland Architectural Association was incorporated in Liberland. And it's also exciting because the Association of Architects in Liberland is being formalized. This is a proposal from Harvard University by one of the professors originally from Argentina and his team. Very light version of what it could look like. We already deployed that one into our cadastral maps just to show how the land could be divided. And we do have a great representation. I'm more than excited that it's roughly almost 90 countries, I believe, are covered with Liberland representatives. The green ones are the newest. But I think in a year and a half, we are going to cover almost the entire civilized world. This is opening our representative office in Belgrade 2 months ago. Maybe some of you know Jeff Berwick. He was present. That was fun. And I'm very happy that we've got some strong people now representing us in Serbia. And it's very close again to blockchain and tech community. This is from yesterday, our opening of our representative office here in Oslo, and I think it's exciting that Liberland also has a physical space where people can meet and share ideas. So thank you very much, Manuel, again. And we've got lots of good contacts with countries that are struggling in similar way like we do. One of those kindergartens for new states is UMPO. We applied for membership some time ago, but for us it's a great hub to countries and territories that are more than happy to talk to us because they are dealing with similar issues, and for us it's a great way how to push forward blockchain technologies and innovative thinking. We've got lots of support in different places, ranging from European Parliament, the chairman of the ECR group, Syed Kamal. I met him, he's very supportive, and a very nice meeting. Prince Hans Adam of Liechtenstein, I also met him a couple of times. Those are the meetings that I can tell you about, but there are of course a number of meetings of heads of states and ministers that I cannot tell you about. But I can tell you about it. I was on official visit, for example, to Palestine. I met ministers there, And we've got enormous support also in American Congress. I met a number of congressmen and senators. Some of them are helping us from behind the scenes to move Liberland forward. This is a historic moment for Liberland. Roughly a month ago, we signed a deal with Somaliland, which is an unrecognized state, yet fully sovereign for more than 25 years, with 3.5 million people, with incredible, stable, democratic system. And we basically agreed on cooperation, especially in development of these blockchain technologies and helping them to implement them in their governance, and also in energy sector and in housing sector. So it was very exciting to have that as Vice President of Somaliland and the Minister of Trade with us. And also Tariq Abbasi, our Minister for Protocol. And this is what you will see when you come to Liberland. We're keep on buying new houseboats, so we can have more people coming for events. We basically, what we do is, if there is a resistance, if there are police on the borders of Liberland ready to arrest Liberlanders, then we don't go to Liberland. But of course, when there is nobody, we are not seeing any resistance, then we are offloading people, we are having parties in Liberland. It's a great kind of a social event. This was from the visit of Al Jazeera recently. Again, no problem with getting in and out of Liberland. We are also trying to slowly start to build something in the territory, but it's difficult at this stage. We are planning to actually, for that purpose, next year to bring a bigger ship with the units that we can deploy on the side of Liberland very easily, and it will be kind of also a hub for people and like a first small seat of government of Liberland. Now we are incorporating businesses. I'm excited that I think it's more than $2 million worth of equity coming to Liberland in terms of incorporation. You can also incorporate it. There is some kind of a symbolic fee for it during the beta testing. This is the document that you will get. It gets incorporated on Universa blockchain. And Universa is also one of those supporting projects that dedicated 5% of their ICO to Liberland. So what we are actually doing, and whenever there is ICO, you can do a small equity swap with Liberland, and that is basically your incorporation fee also to Liberland. Or of course, it's a voluntary, so you don't have to do that. You can just incorporate yourself. But the big thing which we would really like to do is start working with Aragon, and we already have a working team in place, and I hope that it's actually one of my priorities for next month or so to launch together with Aragon One the incorporation of Liberland companies, fully decentralized companies that don't need jurisdiction. We'll just incorporate in Liberland because it gives them some additional value. But it's the future, right? We don't need central banks, we don't need states, we don't need jurisdictions because everything is getting decentralized. And Liberland is here actually to explain it to people, to show how that can be utilized and kind of lead the way for other countries to adopt to that new era which is coming. We also have a ship registry now. Some of the ships already made it for example, from Italy to Africa, and they didn't have any legal problems, which I was excited about. I think there is now 5 bigger boats that are running around under Liberland flag in international seas. And I'm more than happy that I met Henry. I hope he's here. Also one of the Norwegians that have a good experience with the ship registry, and we will have another expert. And it's great that he's from Oslo, who's going to help us with the legal backing of this project. And everything is just basically about trust, about our Liberland being able to present itself with insurance companies, being able to present itself with banking institutions, and it's happening. Right now, Liberland Passport is good to actually open an account on Kraken, which is exciting news, and I was excited to hear that. So that's it from me. You can always contact me at president@liberland.org. And of course, the most valuable help that you can give to Liberland is your creativity, good ideas, how to move Liberland forward. And I will be more than happy to grow with you in the Liberland environment. Thank you very much.